Hi everyone, this video we will talk about interfaces. So what are interfaces in Java? In Java, actually, when we talk about class inheritance, every class only can have one single parent. So that's why sometimes when we talk about the class inheritance, we always say in Java we only support single inheritance. But C++ actually we provide multiple inheritance. So in Java, sometimes for some classes, if they are not related to each other, when we say if they are not related to each other, that means they are not in the one inheritance tree. But they do have some behavior, they are very similar. So that's why we have the interfaces. So the interfaces actually we have that in Java is we kind of provide a relationship. They have one cross the inheritance tree, cross the class inheritance tree. Different unrelated classes, they have the similar and alike behavior. So then we're using the interfaces to describe that behavior. So that's why here you will see the definition. We say an interfaces actually is a class-like construct that contain only constant and abstract method. So interfaces is similar to class, but for the class, we can have abstract method, we can have solid method, concrete method. That means the method you have the implementation in there. You can have static method. However, in the interfaces, they only contain two things. Either constant. If you have variable, they have to be constant variable. If you have method, they only be abstract method. So that's the interfaces. And also interfaces, actually we allowed the class can inherit it from the interfaces, and also they can inherit it from multiple interfaces. So kind of interface in Java is provide the multiple inheritance. But here the multiple inheritance, we focus on interfaces inheritance. It's not a class inheritance. So that's why here they talk about in the slide, we say in many ways, an interface actually very similar to the abstract class. Because abstract class, you have the method they contain the abstract method. But interfaces only has abstract method. Okay. So for the interfaces, the intention is they specify common behavior. You see, that's earlier I say. Cross different unrelated classes. If they have the same or similar behavior, we allow the interfaces to let them to inheritance from. So the intention for interfaces actually specify the common behavior for objects of the related classes or unrelated classes they all can inheritance to. So when you want to define interfaces, we need to use the keyword interface. Just like class, when you define a class, you say the class keyword, then the class name. So the interface the same. Interface, you need to have the interface keyword. So then you have interface name. And also you have the modifier. So this modifier can be public, can be private. But here is even interfaces only contain abstract method. But you don't need to have the abstract keyword for the interface. So here is the example. If we say I have an interface called edible. So this edible means fruit can be eaten. So some animal like the chicken can be eaten. So then different object, if they can be eaten, they all inherited from the interface edible. So here you see we have the public access. We have the interface keyword. So the interface name is edible. So any class, if they can be eat, so then they can inherit it from the interface edible. So in this edible, we have a string, we have the method we call how to eat. So this how to eat, you just need to specify how should I eat this object. So here you will have public abstract. That means this method is abstract. Okay, so that's the definition is interfaces. But interfaces actually, because we told you, because all the interfaces, they contain only constant number and the abstract method. So that's why sometimes you can specify the method have the abstract keyword. But most of the time, since we already know the interfaces only contain constant number and abstract method. So that's why here, even we say interface T, they have a constant number called K. So we say constant number, that means the constant number need to be static and final. That's how we define constant number in Java. Or I have another method I call P. This method should be abstract. But here actually we can skip all of that because we all know that already in the interfaces. So that's why you can just right away define that as int k equal to 1. Then your method P is P. So then since they are under interfaces, the compiler would treat this variable as constant variable and treat this method as abstract method. Even you don't need the public because they are all public. Okay, so that's interfaces. So the next one we will see the example about the interfaces. Before we see the example for the interfaces, so here I just want to remind you the interfaces. The interfaces actually, because they only contain abstract method, so that's why remember interfaces cannot use it to create object because they cannot really have a solid object. But interfaces can be a data type. So then when we do the interfaces inheritance, right? The purpose for interfaces actually just for the inheritance. Any object, if they have the similar behavior, I will inherit that interface. In the interface inheritance, we're using the implements keyword. So this one is different from the class inheritance, we use the extends. Okay, so now we can moving forward to see our example. So our example, we just see we have the edible interface, like earlier we defined. So now since earlier we say edible, you only have how to eat method, right? So here is in your code, you just need to define interface keyword, edible, the interface name, so your method. So compiler know this method is an abstract method. Okay, so that's why here we see that's our interface edible. So besides I have an interface here. So then we just say, actually I have another abstract class I call animal, right? Animal can be an abstract superclass, right? Because when we say dog is an animal, cat is an animal, but I don't really want to create an animal object. I don't know how should I create. So animal actually is an abstract superclass. In the animal superclass, we have one method we call sound, because most of the time an animal can make this sound. So of course, tiger is an animal, chicken is an animal, right? Okay, so here later we will see using this UML diagram, we will have the code to show you. So after we have this edible interface, right? Do you agree chicken can be eat? Right, so chicken can be eat, right? So you can put the chicken in the oven, you can have a fried chicken. So that's why we can inheritance chicken from the interface edible. So you just need to tell me how you will make the chicken. So then here, all the fruits can be eat, right? So that's why fruit can inheritance from the edible interface. But fruit itself, how should we implement fruit? Right, apple is a fruit, orange is a fruit, kiwi is a fruit. So that's why fruit actually is another abstract class. Okay, So that's why here we have the apple and orange inherited from the fruit. Sounds okay, right? So that's why here you can download test edible example, because this example we just want to show you how will you create an interface. Okay, so in this edible class, the first thing we have an abstract class, that's animal we talked about earlier. So not only I put the keyword here, abstract class, animal, and also they have an abstract method called sound. So if I say earlier, I have a chicken inherited from the animal, so I just extend animal. So in order to make the chicken become a solid class, I need to override the sound. So that's why here I override the sound. How to sound here, actually this one. On this one, the override method came from extend animal, because animal you need to make the sound. And also any class you can inherit it, extend from your superclass. But also you can continue using the implements keyword to implement an interface. So that's why here the chicken is implement from the edible interface. Any interface you implement, don't forget all the method you need to override in order to become a solid class. So that's why here you see the animal. Okay, so continue, see the example, the next one. Tiger also extend from animal, right? But the tiger only extend from the animal, so we only override the sound. So here we have another abstract class we call fruit. So the fruit actually just an abstract class, they have nothing here, but the implement from the edible. So since your fruit implement from edible, so that's why when apple extend from fruit, in order to make the apple become a solid class, you need to override how to eat. So the same thing for the orange. Okay, so here we want to show you the example, the relationship we show you, the interface. We have one interface, we have two animal and fruit class. But when we really run the testing, you can see here, we create an array, but this array data type is object. Remember we told you object is the superclass for any other class. So here in our object class, we can have a tiger. We can create a new tiger object. We can create a chicken object. We can create the apple object. They are all okay be in the object array. So then here, because they are all different, right? So that's why when you want to do your, you want to print out all the information, we need to see the difference. Because if I want to print the edible how to eat, in order to invoke how to eat, this method actually is declared in the edible interface. So in order to invoke this method, the first thing I need to make sure this object is instance of the edible interface. So did you see here? Earlier when we told you the interface cannot use to create object, but interface can be a data type. So that's why here we can say is the object is one kind of edible or not. So on the other hand here, when you want to invoke how to eat, you need to downcast the object. So the same thing for the animal, you can do the instance. This one we'll already see how we will do the class using the instance of. So in order to make the sound, you will see the animal, instance of animal to do that. But one thing is, I want you to run this program, test edible. You need to be careful. Not only you need to download testedible.java file, you also need to download. We have another file is edible interface. So both of the program need to be downloaded into your IDE so they can run. Because the interface edible, this file is so small, so that's why I didn't show you. But just this 3 line actually is in your edible.java file. When you create an interface, they are still using the source file .java. So after they compile, they will create a bytecode file.